why is he arbitrarily giving an interview and talking about these issues instead of just driving home a message over and over again about the Brexit vote and about out-of-touch elites?
Right.
How many times is Donald Trump going to, miss an opportunity? And he just never fails, right? It's remarkable. The shooting in Orlando by somebody obviously influenced by ISIS, and now this Brexit vote, two issues that would play to his strength. And both times, he botches the opportunity by saying things that are off-key, that make the moment about him instead of the issue.
Right, he's remarkably good at snatching failure from the jaws of victory. Like the one moment of that whole press conference that was most striking to me and the most striking to the Clinton campaign was when he said that the global recession, if there was a global recession, would be great for him and great for his businesses. I mean, generally, if there's a recession, it's blamed on the ruling party, which in this case would be Hillary Clinton, who's linked her campaign intimately with that of President Obama,
the face of the
established. And now there's an ad out this morning from the Clinton campaign just running that clip over and over and over. So if we do end up in a global recession, they will be able to squarely pin it on Donald Trump using his own words.
Well, let's bring that ad into play, because they did put that out this morning, and in some, you could look at it and say, well, they responded nimbly. Donald Trump starts talking about his golf courses and making money after Brexit. So you get to that, but there could be another take. First, let's snippet from the ad.
Every president is tested by world events, but Donald Trump thinks about how his golf resort can profit from them.
When the pound goes down, more people are coming to Turnberry.
Stocks tank around the world.
Brand new sprinkler system, the highest level.
He's talking about his new sprinkler system.
In a volatile world, the last thing we need is a volatile president.
I mean, we knew the minute he was standing there on Friday giving that press conference talking about the nice suites and the sprinkler systems, I knew that was going to be an ad. I didn't know it would be 48 hours later. But look, that is the challenge here and the problem for Donald Trump, I believe. Yes, there is something out there for him to seize and tap into, but he can't seem to help himself. Now, I'm not sure that it matters necessarily, this one ad, but the difference between the referendum and this campaign is this is an absolute choice between two candidates, not an idea of something, a feeling. Right. This will be a choice between Donald Trump, a choice between the Clinton campaign, and they are still trying to define him as the week began. I was in Ohio, in Columbus, earlier in the week, and when Hillary Clinton was talking about where all the places his products are made, I thought, wow, that's an ad in Ohio as well here, because he talks about restoring America, bringing jobs back to America. Well, he has, in fact, not done that. So I think this is an issue for him, but the Clinton campaign, the Brooklyn advisors are aware that this is a challenge for them. I think Brexit was a huge wake-up call. If they needed one, I'm not sure they did.
Right.
But this is a real issue.
So here's a question, though. So Donald Trump, whether you think he made a mistake or not, he was out there. He was in the UK. He was speaking. I agree the diversion to his businesses is a little bit, where are we going here? Joe Biden was traveling, very strong words. The President of the United States, let's give you a little bit sample more here. President Obama says this is a moment of testing for the world. We're going to have to renegotiate with the European Union. The United States is going to have to recraft its relationship with the UK. President Obama says it's testing time and Donald Trump isn't ready.
And unfortunately, when people are anxious and scared, there are going to be politicians out there who try to prey on that frustration to get themselves headlines and to get themselves votes. That's the story they've been telling. Not just their guy at the top of the ticket, but up and down the ticket.
So why on this Sunday morning is the leading Democratic criticism coming only from the president? Yes, there's a new Clinton campaign ad out. Yes, that shows they're nimble. But where was the former Secretary of State herself? She was down this week, and there was some talk she might come out and do an OTR, an off-the-record event to say something. But why have we, if she's the calm, steady leader that we're supposed to have at this moment of turmoil in contrast to Trump, why did we not hear from her?
And it's 3 days, too, right? The Brexit vote happens Thursday night, and now here it is Sunday. So where has she been for the last 3 days? She's so cautious, and I think her advisors are so loath to have her make a mistake. And I think also when they see Trump doing what he did on Friday, which is getting in his own way, they don't want to sort of blur that storyline, too.